Hey everyone, thank you for listening to the Brew Roots podcast. This is episode 200, which is 4 years in the making for us, right? That's pretty amazing. Ryan and Erica, you've officially been on for more than 100 episodes, so...
I guess I have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started at episode 30-something.
37? 30-something?
It was whatever night shift was.
Yeah. And I've been on, I think... all 200, maybe 198 or something like that.
There's one I think you didn't go to, actually, that Ryan and I did.
Well, that's true. Actually, I think that happened a couple times.
Yeah. Maybe it's
But
not.
anyway, Brew Roots as a collective has gotten to 200 episodes.
And God, all the people who listened all the way back in Smutty Nose,
or that still go back and listen to those.
Yeah, God bless you.
Kudos to you.
We need to re-record a lot of those episodes, but I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank all our listeners who have spent the time, shared an episode, told us our episode has sucked. That's cool too. It helps us grow. It helps us become a better podcast and kind of do, I hate the word service, but do what we do, in helping out those breweries across the country. And God knows, right now, people need that, that extra, that community aspect of it. So we've certainly felt it here in podcast land. Talking to all the people who follow us on Instagram or Twitter, or people we've just even seen at our local breweries, being keep up the good work. Thank you. I don't want to speak for Ryan and Erica, but it means a lot to me.
You basically said it, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for all of your love and support and listening. And it's been a long and amazing, lovely ride, and I can't wait to keep going.
I don't know if I have 200 more in me, but
yes, you do.
We'll see. But we can promise you these next episodes that we coming up are going to be awesome episodes.
Amazing.
And we are here in Hamden, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
You did.
Hamden,
yeah. And we're here at Counter Weight, which I had to train myself not to say Honest Weight. Honest Weight is in Massachusetts, so it's and we've been there a bunch of times. We love that brewery. So we're here at Counter Weight, and if I slip up, I apologize. But we're here with someone who has an excellent name because it happens to be my name. So we're here with Matthew. Do you prefer Matthew or Matt?
It's Matt.
It's Matt. Yeah,
it's
same
Matt.
with me. My mom calls me Matthew when she's pissed.
Me too.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? She's an Italian woman, so it's really scary when she's like, Matthew. 31. Still scared. Yeah. But thank you for doing this today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for talking with us.
Yeah, no problem. So we start every podcast by asking our guests the role at the brewery. And we used to ask
first memory of beer. That's fun. Or maybe when you first fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my name's Matt. Owner, brewer, janitor, packaging guy, fixer of all things that are broken around the brewery. Earliest memory of beer, probably trying, a sip of my dad's beer or my mom's beer, or one of my grandparents. I remember all of them put salt in their beer when I was a little kid, which was very specific memory for me.
Yeah. They were on the Goza train before anyone else.
Yeah. But yeah, I distinctly remember Miller Lite or something of that kind of beer with a little bit of salt in it. And then when I really fell in love with beer was probably college, like most people. When you kind of graduate from your Keystone Lights or your Miller High Lifes and you discover something that's interesting or bold in flavor and kind of opens up your mind to the fact that beer could be something that you don't necessarily expect.
Do you remember what that beer might have been for you?
I remember a lot of 12 packs of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Such a good one.
Yep.
Still a good one to even just grab.
Very much.
What was the original? You said you went to college. What was the original plan? And did you disappoint your parents by going into the brewing industry?
So I went to school for sociology. During that time, I started homebrewing, and I applied to my 3 top graduate school picks. And I promised myself if I didn't get in, that I'd go to Brewing School. And I wonder sometimes if I picked the highest level of schools that I knew I wouldn't get into.
On purpose, yeah.
Harvard, and Harvard.
And I kind of remember going to my parents and telling them, hey, change of plans here, guys. I'm probably not going to go to graduate school. I'm interested in going to brewing school. And to my surprise, they were very, very supportive.
That's awesome.
And there probably wouldn't be a Counter Weight today without their support, for sure. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what brewing school did you go to?
American Brewers Guild.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm going to get in a hard-hitting question.
Ooh.
Right away.
Damn.
Education versus just going into the industry. What's your opinion on it?
I think there's a lot of value to both. I have a lot of respect for the German tradition of just real focus on education and being educated upon every aspect of what you do within the brewing world. But as we know, in their tradition, they're very, very myopic, and they make these beers this way, and it's a little less
Never
creative.
Changes. Yeah.
And the American way, which I think has really pushed the boundaries of American beer and beer in the world as a whole, I think there's a lot of value in being creative and not having that kind of boundary around you. So I think it's really a combination of both, and knowing both of those things and finding the ability to accept some of those tried and true methodologies into what you do, and also maintaining some level of creativity is really important to be successful.
Yeah.
So when you went to the Brewers Guild school there, what did you kind of focus on? Is it like a little bit of everything? Was there any kind of real specific thing that you focused on there?
Yeah, at that particular point in time, and I can't really speak to what they're doing now, but it was broken up between engineering, so they kind of talked about why equipment was designed the way it was and why you use it that way, and then some microbiology and some process-related things.
Okay.
So it was a kind of a well-rounded way of kind of telling you a little bit of everything.
Do you feel like a hospitality aspect is missing from higher education in beer?
Very much so. I think that's a great question. One of the things that we've really focused on at Counter Weight, and that I think is missing as a whole, is, well, we all focus a little bit of what's in the glass. How it's served and how it's presented is so important. And I think that's another thing that comes in from some older brewing traditions around the world, whether that be Belgium or Germany or England. They're very good and very thoughtful and very purposeful in the way they present the beer to you. And I think that goes miles with people, that it should look a certain way, it should be poured in a certain glass, and it should look a certain way. While we all focus on aroma and flavor, the way the beer looks, whether it has stable foam, whether it's clear or hazy, that's such a big part of the experience for the end drinker. And I would like to see, and we certainly are trying our best to focus on that here at Counter Weight, for all of us as an industry to kind of focus on that a little bit more, because I think it's going to stabilize and make for our segment of the beverage industry and the beer industry on the smaller level a little bit more stable and have more longevity as a whole.
Yeah, I think a lot of people focus on the beer in front of them in American style versus European style, then rather just getting to know the person, right? So it's like, oh, I'm drinking this oatmeal stout. It's roasty. It has all these great aromas, but sometimes the best beer is just the beer in front of you,
Absolutely.
Right? And it makes it up with the hospitality. We've had countless beers, I think, in our journeys, and I think we remember where we've gone based upon who we've talked to, those experiences.
The times you've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what you guys are about, just doing some research, never personally being here myself, but knowing what you're about. Recently, you just were awarded, 12th in...
You're top 12 brewery in 2021 from Hop Culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
Must be doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, we're certainly trying, and I think, our ideology about what we do is fairly simple. We want to make consistent quality beer that's affordable and available. So we're not really interested in being kind of this small, hyper-local focused. We're a statewide brewery where we don't really go outside of Connecticut, but within Connecticut, we want to make our beer first and foremost just available and affordable. And as a result of that goal, we have to be thoughtful about our beers being shelf stable and some other issues that obviously come in with that goal. Within that, we want to try to fulfill a bunch of different areas of the spectrum of beer. So we make a Helles, we make an oatmeal stout. So everywhere in between there, we try to make something for everybody. And whatever we choose to make, we want to do well.
How do you make your beer affordable?
A lot of planning and having realistic expectations of what we're going to get out of this financially. Mm-hmm. We've been in business for coming up on 5 years now. I've been in the industry about 16 years.
Wow.
We're not going to get rich doing this, but we're certainly going to be happy if at the end of the day we can put something that we consider to be an affordable luxury in front of somebody for $10, $11, $12 a 4-pack and have them really enjoy it, and it's as good as anything they've bought for $18 or $20.
I was going to say, 10, 12, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So it's safe to say a lot of people in Greater Connecticut probably have never been to the tap space that have enjoyed your beer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Being down in this part of the state, it's hard for us to kind of get an understanding of who's visited. We have a long local support of neighborhoods around us that come in on
I feel like you guys know how many dogs have come. I saw a wall of dogs.
A lot of
but let's go back to what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that on Saturdays we might have people that take an hour ride to come visit us, but on a regular basis, we just have people from 10, 15, 20 miles away at most coming to us on a regular basis. And I think that our customers are different in the regard of them being a taproom customer who's a regular or somebody that goes out and buys Workhorse or Headway regularly on the shelf. Yep. And if we're able to kind of fulfill both of those things, then I think, hopefully we're doing that well, and that's why they continue to return.
So you talk about being in the industry for 16 years. Where did you cut your teeth?
So I started at New England Brewing Company.
Cool.
I started there as a volunteer and eventually became head brewer and co-owner of the company.
Wow.
I was there for just under a decade and then sold my piece back to a current owner, still good friend, and started Counter Weight.
Yeah.
Cool. So was it a dream to kind of start your own brewery then?
Yeah, I think as that brewery evolved and we hit a certain space and I was getting a little bit older, I was like, well, if I'm ever going to do this from the ground up, now's the time.
Yeah.
And that pressure of time and also just really being interested in starting all over again, it drove me to...
You wanted the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you never worked as a sociologist?
I never worked as a... I don't know if many people have.
Yeah, right.
Fair enough. Sorry to our sociologist listeners out there.
You said it, not him.
Yeah. You've always worked as a professional brewer or in the brewing industry.
Yeah, before I was brewing professionally, I worked for different wholesalers. So I lived in Oregon for a while, and I ran a sales route in Portland, selling Deschutes and New Belgium and
that's awesome.
All kinds of different brands out there, and then moved to Connecticut, back home where I'm originally from. Ran a route here for a little while, worked in a liquor store, running a beer department, and then eventually jumping onto the production side. So definitely have a unique perspective having worked on all three tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually huge.
So having that kind of global perspective, were you gung-ho to distribute statewide upon opening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the ability of certain breweries to successfully go to market, make something affordable, available, and consistent is undervalued right now. And there's a lot of wonderful breweries that I certainly love drinking their beer that are taproom only or very small. That never really interested me. The larger challenge of navigating all of these other obstacles, maybe because I love pain and all of the things and all of the challenges that are affiliated with being able to do that. I've always wanted to be able to produce something that somebody an hour away could walk into a store and confidently pick that beer up off the shelf and know that they're going to get a good value for what they're paying.
Yeah. I'm very curious about the name Counter Weight, but we have to keep the lights on here at the Brewers podcast. How do you think we got to 200 episodes?
How do you think?
The sound guy Ryan and Erica, not me. So. Let's take it away, sponsors, and I'm curious about the name. So,
we'll be back. Did you know that your favorite Massachusetts breweries use hops from a local family-owned hop farm right here in Massachusetts?
Our friends over at 4 Star Farms are there for you whether you're a commercial brewery or a small batch home brewer.
Make sure to head over to their website today and get your hands on some of the best and freshest hops available locally. Cheers.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family-owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today.
Shirts on Tap is the box subscription service for craft beer lovers. Each month, Shirts on Tap partners up with 7 different breweries from across the country and collaborates on a sweet custom shirt design. We've been teamed up with Shirts on Tap since the inception of the podcast and are proud to announce a new promo code for all of our listeners. To get your first shirt for $5 off, go to the link in our description below and use the promo code. And remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts. So the name Counter Weight. Ryan and I and Erica were joking on the way here. We thought you were an ex-rigger, like the Counter Weight. So we're like retired rigger,
They're all retired riggers. Yeah, that's where it comes.
We had this idea in our head that you were this rigger. potty mouth rigor. No, I'm just kidding.
Not far from it.
Okay.
No, when we were looking for a name for the company, we wanted something that was a representation of what we wanted to accomplish. And realistically, no matter what we looked at, whether it was hospitality or flavor or our personal lives or anything, we really wanted to achieve balance. And Counterweight is one of those tools to achieve balance. So that's really where the name comes from, to try to, if somebody goes out and buys a Headway at the end of the day and they had a really shitty day, and that beer is kind of their counterweight at the end of the day to balance out, their world, there's a lot of different ways of looking at what we're ultimately trying to achieve.
Were you pumped that it was available? I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. It was available too, right?
That's a very big part of it.
Yes.
Was there any plan B names if that wasn't, or was Counterweight number one?
So we actually looked at Workhorse Brewing Company, the name of our Pilsner, and the same exact week that we applied for it, somebody else had just gotten approval.
Oh, wow.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You guys should talk. Have you talked to this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Thanks for doing it. What are the beers you're all known for?
So we have 3 beers in distribution. So we have Headway IPA, our number one seller. It's about 75% of everything we make. We have Workhorse Pilsner. This is the first beer we ever brewed in this building. That's available all the time, and it's growing organically and really fast, which makes us super happy.
As I said, that's amazing to hear.
We love our lagers.
Yes.
And then Crucial Mass, which is our double IPA, we added maybe 2 years in, and that's available a little less than Headway and Workhorse, but it does see the shelves.
Yeah. I see a cool ship here, but I'm going to ask a question after that. But are you decocting for your lagers?
We're not. Currently, at our new facility we're building right now, we just bought 2 different brew houses, both available of doing decoction.
Awesome.
Nice. That's awesome.
Not many breweries have a cool ship. So why do you have a cool ship?
So I'm just a beer nerd ultimately, and I love exploring old world methodology. So one of the goals here was to produce spontaneously fermented beers and to use a cool ship to produce some really classic old world German styles as well. So we've used a cool ship to do both.
And which cool ship beer is this that we're having?
That's Cool Ship Keller beer. Based off of a beer that I was able to have in Melkendorf, Germany a couple of years ago, and really just took the methodology they shared with us and applied it here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really good.
Mine's gone.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on true to style?
That's a big question. I think what needs to be incorporated into answering something like that is people's interpretation. So everybody's palate's different, and we all taste beers a little bit different. And as I explore traditional styles and try to pull from any of these beers that are tried and true and have 100 years of tradition, I certainly understand that it's going through my lens and my palate. And we always want to put our own thumbprint on things. So we're trying to just ensure that no matter what we do, that we're first and foremost honest with the drinker. So we're never going to sit here and tell you that you're drinking a German Keller beer. You're drinking a German Keller beer that was produced in an American brewery.
Yeah.
And that influence that came to us from our education, our personal experience, our equipment, our water profile, all of these things are going to make up the sum of the parts in the glass that you ultimately drink.
Do off flavors have a place in beer?
Oh boy.
That's a bold question.
It is a bold question.
Well, I mean, in Germany, there are some beers that have diacetyl on purpose.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's
because
allowed.
Czech Republic, yeah.
Diacetyl is offensive to me, quite honestly.
Okay. So you have a low threshold for it.
Yeah, and I've had some British beers, like Fuller's London Porter is a beer that I truly love, and there's a touch of diacetyl, but it does work in that beer. Lagers, I'm a little bit more sensitive, and I've certainly had some of those traditional Czech beers, and it's not for me. So yeah. I think it's case by case. I've talked to other brewers who love going to the Czech Republic and drinking those beers every couple years when they get to travel, and when they think about the flavor profile of those beers, it is a part of it. For us, we do make a Czech-inspired lager, and we do not have diacetyl in that beer. But again, it's our interpretation of and what we want to see and through, and it's one of the reasons we say Czech-inspired and not Czech style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a really good point, and I like that you do that. It's check inspired.
Yeah, it's smart. It's good. It's smart. Let's talk about the brew house. What are you brewing on here? And then we're going to talk about the new facility.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we have a 20-barrel, 3-vessel metal craft brewery, brew house down there. We have about 17 fermenters from 20 barrels to 80 barrels, 4 bright tanks, and a 5-head cask canning line, and a really incredible crew down there running everything day to day.
That's important.
That was important. Yes, thank you.
Obviously, lagering takes a little bit longer. When you're brewing 75% of your brews that are IPAs, what is a 4-week turnaround for those?
Yeah, most of our beers are about 5 weeks.
5 weeks, okay.
And then our German Helles, that's about a 6-week beer.
Obviously, with lagering, though, tank space is a premium, and with your Pilsner, I'm sure, too. Is the new facility going to have more tank fermenters and tanks?
Yeah, so we'll have, right now we have 17 fermenting vessels. We'll have 23 at the new space.
Okay, nice little bump.
So is the new space going to replace this one, or are you going to have 2 locations?
It'll replace this one.
Okay.
Yep.
So talk about the new space and where it's going to be.
So we're moving about 20 minutes up the road in Cheshire. We built a brand new facility, 20,000 square foot, that's now connected to an existing 8,000 square foot building. And we really tried to design this place to combine efficiency, build the production space to allow our staff to really explore and be experimental and continue to learn and evolve, and then build a space that's welcoming and educational for people as they come in and hopefully visit us.
Is it going to be bittersweet to close the doors on this place?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been here 5 years, and we built this place from nothing. I mean, this used to be a gym.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Downstairs was
Fun.
a yoga studio. This used to be exercise bikes. Out there was a basketball court.
I can see it a little.
All kinds
Yeah.
of stuff.
All right,
And,
all right.
you know, myself and my fiance kind of tore this place apart, and with a bunch of help, turned it into a brewery.
Yeah.
Is another brewery coming in here?
That's yet to be determined, but it's a
Okay.
very good possibility.
Stay tuned
All right,
for more.
Stay tuned.
What pisses you off about this space? Come on, there's got to be something. You're building a new building.
So many things. I mean, we're just really out of space. It's one of those Tetris games where to get something into the building, sometimes we have to pull things out.
Yeah.
You know, it's just definitely not big enough for what we want to do. And
Yeah.
we started on a very, very, very small budget. So for the first, year that we were open, we were, like most new breweries, underfunded and understaffed. And there's just a lot of things we can do differently. And from all those lessons that we've learned here and elsewhere, we're trying to apply those in the new space, because I never, ever, 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 ever want to move a brewery ever again. So hopefully everything that we put in the new space doesn't push us to ever have to do so.
You mean this isn't like so much fun for you? This is like the best thing.
Staff education, how important is it?
Really, really important. And that goes both ways, not for just what we teach our staff, but for what our staff teaches us. And one of the things that I love about our staff is that they're truly passionate, and they always bring new ideas and things to the table that we as a group always are collectively exploring, whether that's a way to produce a beer, a new ingredient, a new style, whatever it is. We're all collectively trying to continuously kind of just up our game. And that goes from production to service to every really aspect of Counterweight.
Do you do any kind of training for staff?
Yeah, we do off-flavor training on
Awesome.
a pretty regular basis.
Yep.
We sit down with new beers pretty often and just taste through them.
Yeah.
And then anytime there's a new ingredient, we'll talk through what we might be able to do with it, where it applies. And we're always communicating those things.
Yeah. Very cool. Very
So
cool.
you came from Nebco, right? More hypey beer, if you want to say. They have the unicorn. Well, you know which one I'm talking about. Not as hypey here. What's your opinion on hype beer? I'm so sorry. I just got to ask,
It's interesting because, the first beers that I ever brewed over there were Fuzzy and Supernaut and Gandhi-Bot and all these things that got a lot of hype. And we didn't really do anything other than just make beer that we wanted to drink. And that's sort of what I think most brewers should do, just follow their passion. And I think that hype beer has its place in the industry, but as long as it doesn't take your eye off the prize, as evolving and improving and making a product that has more of a place for a broader audience than a highly specialized smaller audience, because you still have to keep the lights on and move forward.
I was going to ask that. Then do you think you have to have like an IPA on at all times?
Yeah, I kind of think you do if your business model calls for it. Here we love our hoppy beers. We love our lagers. We try to do all of those things, but at the end of the day, we have to be honest with ourselves
business.
and recognize that hoppy beer and IPA specifically drives largely the craft beer industry.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, we came out with Headway IPA. We wanted to see where it went. We adjusted that beer over the course of the first year, according to what we wanted it to be and what the audience was asking for. And we kind of reached this point where we're really proud of it right now, and it does propel this company forward.
Is Italian Pilsner hype beer? Or is it a made-up beer that doesn't really exist?
Oh, man, that's a really interesting question because we do make an Italian.
Listen, I love Italian Pilsner.
Yeah, no,
too.
exactly. We love it.
Yeah, it's,
I don't know if it's a hype beer. I mean, I think that right now, at least in Connecticut, I think Connecticut's a really unique market. Lager's still trying to find its day in the sun, and very there's a large audience of people that just don't want that from us. I will say that we've seen consistently our number 2 best-selling beer in our tap room as being our Pilsner.
That's awesome to hear, though.
It is starting
great
to happen.
now, is that Hamden's kind of like a college town, right? I mean, you have Quinnipiac, and is that driven by the people who might be drinking the natty ices and they want the light offering? I don't know. I mean, it's also like a blue collar area. So
we don't really see a lot of college students here.
okay.
And I think largely they don't want to pay $6 or $7 a pint when they can buy a
$3.
yeah, 30 rack for that. Yeah.
and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
We do see a lot of loyal regulars that come through the door, and a lot of these guys started drinking our hazier IPA or our barrel-aged stouts or some of the beers that we've gotten a lot of attention for. But we do see them shifting a little bit because at any given time we have 3 or 4 lagers on, and I think as they kind of deviate a little bit from their normal glass, I think the spectrum of flavor we're able to offer, and certainly other breweries around us are starting to offer, it's a nice break.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite beer style to brew and drink?
Yeah, I think Workhorse Pilsner is probably my favorite beer we make. I find myself always grabbing for it. It's very much inspired by some of my travel in Germany over the last 5 years, and it's just super drinkable. I like the fact that it's just around 5%, and you can have a couple of them and not get in too much trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
We're going to talk about the craft beer scene in Connecticut and your opinion on it, and maybe some things that frustrate you. But
After this break.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Brew sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
So the Connecticut beer scene, we're obviously in touch with the mass beer scene, and we've talked to a couple breweries around the state. But what's the Connecticut beer scene known for?
What's it known for? I think we're a young market for beer overall, and I think that the difference between Connecticut and the rest of more developed beer markets is that we really haven't had 1 or 2 breweries really step up to the plate and drive and grow. Realistically, I'm a pretty young guy in the grand scheme of things, and when I first started in the business, I think there were 5 breweries in Connecticut, and now there's 100 and something.
125, we found out today.
Wow. That's absolutely insane to me. So as a result of 125 or 120 breweries opening in the last 10 years, there's not a lot of experience in our state. And that goes for me as well, really. I'm asking people to have so much more experience than a lot of us do. And I think that we have a long way to go in our state, but I think that we've certainly come a long way as well.
Yeah.
Do you think it's good or bad that you don't have a quote-unquote Trillium or Treehouse in your state?
I think there's ups and downs to both. I mean, there's a balance for everything. I mean, the nice thing about Connecticut is it's wide open, and we do have a diverse group of people driving everything forward within our business. So, we have Two Roads and what NEB is doing now, and back east, and so many different breweries. It's nice to see what's happened, and it's exciting to see what can happen.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your opinion on collaboration beers?
I think they can be really beneficial for both breweries for a bunch of reasons. I think when two breweries truly get together because they're interested in doing something and it organically happens as a result of two brewers, over a beer talking about, wow, it would be really cool to do something. I think they can be educational. Everybody has a different approach to what they do day to day in the brewery. And I think that when they get together and share both of those things, and hopefully both parties can walk away with a little bit of information, they're hugely beneficial, especially if the beer comes out good and people can kind of recognize some of those different elements that ultimately come together.
Yeah. Working in a brewery is a lot of collaboration too, because a lot of the times you have people who have come from different breweries, and some you might have just had grown in-house. What do you prefer as an owner, head brewer, someone that you can grow from top
Ground up,
or someone who's come in with a little bit more experience?
I think it depends on their role. We've had people come in and, from a little bit more of a managerial standpoint, have brought so much experience in and brought a new perspective on things that I certainly wouldn't have seen, and it's really benefited our company. At the same way, there's certain lessons that I've learned that I do stand by, and to be able to instill some of those things in people and make sure that they happen on a day-to-day basis, I think also have benefited Counter Weight. So in the spirit of our name, I think there's a balance again with both of those things, depending on where those people fit in.
On a total side note here, what music are you playing on Brew Day?
Well, that depends on who's down there.
And do you have a rule of no bands?
Right.
Like, is there like a no Dave Matthews Band? Like,
It'll get changed pretty quickly if Dave Matthews Band goes on.
cool.
We have a wide variety of music down there, from Wu-Tang to country music to Johnny Cash, all the way down to the craziest metal band. So it really depends on who's on the brew deck that day.
Yeah.
Jam bands?
One individual that's not me.
Oh, that's so yeah. Oh.
All right.
There's a couple
we'll
brewers we
it's
know that say
fine.
no jam bands. What's the environment here like to work for? What culture are you trying to create?
Everybody that's been here with us since we've opened, that's most people. I think we have 28 employees, and we've all 24 of them are still with us since day
That's
one.
pretty
much.
huge.
We're kind of a group of misfits, honestly. We all kind of get along because we're all a bunch of weirdos.
I love it.
Naming of beers. It's always interesting. It's either what's available or like what's the most weird thing that you can think of.
Yeah.
Is there an Excel sheet, and what's the weirdest name that has not gone into production? That you can say without getting in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything I can say on here right now, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative effort on that front too. I mean, it really is. Hey, does this fit the beer? Is what we want to do? Does it fit the overall image of the company? And then we have a whole list of things that's downstairs on a board. I would say 90% of which are not
Appropriate. Yeah.
not appropriate.
How does a name fit a beer?
I think beers have personality and
Okay.
a certain spirit to it.
Yeah.
Especially for us, we're making such a wide array of beers from a Rauk beer to a hazy IPA. We want it to kind of fit what we feel the vibe of the beer is.
Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned Roke beer. We asked our previous guest their opinion on smoked beers. What's your opinion on smoked beers?
It's one of my favorite things.
Same. All right. Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome. Can it be overdone though?
I don't think so.
Ooh.
We
love it.
We make Drudenhaus. It's a traditional Märzen Rauk beer, completely made after the Schlenkerla style. Although we do love Spezial and Bamberg as well. And then we make a smoked Helles as well. And both of those beers, when they're on tap, they're the number one thing all of our brewers reach for.
Yeah.
Every other year we try to go to Germany. in September, we were there checking out our new brew house, and we made sure our Airbnb was, within a walking distance of Schlenkerla, so that as you go explore the rest of the city and drink all these other beers that we love to drink, you get schlenked on the way home.
That's great.
What are some of your favorite events here throughout the year?
So in normal times, we do a record fair with our friends at Red Squirrel Records, and that's one of my favorite days because as a huge music fan and somebody who grew up in the local music scene and who grew up with the people who own that record store, it's so much fun just to kind of share and have two worlds collide. So people come in, they grab a beer, they shop records, they hang out for the day at the brewery, and it's fun to kind of share another local small business with them.
Were you in a band?
I was not in a band.
Oh, okay.
Well, I played around, but I never really played
Gotcha.
as much as the people I lived with did.
So you kind of
I'm not that talented.
Yeah.
You understand the kind of DIY music scene. That's from my understanding. I'm guessing you lived with people, had basement shows and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Craft beer, I think, has a complete
Very
total
similar.
parallel to the DIY scene. Do you think that's what attracted you to it?
I think in a big way it did, yeah. I think growing up in the music scene where people kind of took things into their own hands and said, I'm going to do this, whether it's pressing my own record or finding my own distribution, booking my own shows, whatever it was, it's the same thing, realistically. We just have to work in a bigger confine as far as, state and federal legality, I suppose.
Yeah. Speaking of state and
Federal legality.
what rule would you change in Connecticut if you could, right now?
Oh, boy. I mean, there's a lot of little things, but I think we've come such a long way, so I'm trying to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
When I first started, we couldn't serve beer in a tap room. We couldn't fill
no
growlers.
pints, right,
We
yeah.
couldn't do...
We heard about that.
9 liters, right?
Crazy.
9 liters, and you had to do the conversion charts and
That
everything.
was it. So, back in the day, we used to get people into the brewery and share what we were doing with them. We would give beer away.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you bought a pint glass. It just happens to be beer in it.
Oh,
And-
cool.
As things evolved, it's nice to be able to get past that. Well, there's plenty of progress. I'd like to focus a little bit more on all the progress
Yeah.
we have made.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So what's that law called?
The Connecticut Cafe.
Yeah. Are you a fan of that law?
Paying extra to serve some small things aren't the best things for small businesses in this state. The state of Connecticut certainly has a reputation for grabbing extra cents wherever it can, but I think it's pretty normal in the overall region and in a lot of states. But we'll see what unfolds as hopefully our guild and a bunch of breweries strengthen together and grow together to be able to accomplish things that make an environment that's a little bit more reasonable for small business.
Do you have wine or cider or anything like that on tap here?
Yeah, we pour New England Cider Company. They're
Okay.
in Wallingford. Good friends. Those guys are great. And then we have Jonathan Edwards wine and some other rotating wines as well.
Yeah. So for people who may have been listening, because it's counterweight, the law in Connecticut for why can't I remember?
Connecticut Cafe.
The Connecticut Cafe
Yeah.
is you can serve a spirit, a cider, a wine, and it has to be less than 20% of your
Yep, and made
produced
in Connecticut.
and it has to be made in Connecticut.
Yep.
So in theory, it's a great idea. It works, and it gets a lot of people to come into yours. But there's a price to pay to get. It's the price of admission. So if you are a smaller brewery and you can't afford that, it's like
Yeah.
So we talked about it a bunch in our previous
Interesting.
episode. So if you're interested, go back to
Go
that
back.
episode and take a listen. But Matt, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking with me.
I don't personally have any more questions. Ryan, Erica,
I'll have one more.
I love it.
So, as someone who is so knowledgeable, is there anything else that you find you want to learn more about?
Oh man, pretty much everything involved with beer. Every single week or year or any all the time that passes, when we get our hands on a new ingredient or a new process, we're always learning. And I think at the new facility where we have some new equipment that we've certainly never used before, and some new things that will lead us down some paths that will require us to look at things a little differently. The next couple years are going to be super exciting for us and our team because we have a lot of opportunity to really focus our experience for our guests, what we do as far as making beer for the glass that we put in front of our guests, and it will hopefully be a really fun ride.
Awesome.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
So we always want our listeners who have not been to this area, or if they're in the tip-top corner of Connecticut, right on the Mass and Rhode Island border, and they want to come down here, where's your favorite place to get a slice of pizza? Where should we go for lunch after this?
Yes.
And your favorite dive bar?
Oh boy. I don't think I'm supposed to pick a favorite pizza place.
You can. I won't tell.
I'm a modern guy. I love modern pizza.
Second modern. We have to just go back, I think.
Might have to.
Yeah.
I'm a modern and Sally's guy overall. But again, I'm not too picky. I love Zupardi's and Pepe's. We're very spoiled.
Yeah, you are.
I love Christopher Martin's right next to Modern. It's just a great little New Haven spot to grab a bite. They always have great beer on draft as well. And best dive bar. I'm not gonna lie. I love Ojo's in Watertown.
Okay.
All right.
And where should we go for lunch?
Oh boy, I would go to Micro right down the street. They're our neighbors. They're good friends, and their food and beer is fantastic.
Cool.
Done.
Sold.
Yep.
So, Matt, thank you for doing this. We want our listeners to go to Counter Weight. So where are you physically located? And I know everyone says we can type it in the GPS, but some people like to write things out, including myself. So
for the next 3 to 4 weeks,
Yep.
we're at 23 Rocky Oak Park Road in Hamden, Connecticut.
And that's
find us on social media.
And I just want people to know that's 3 to 4 weeks. We're releasing this one in the beginning of March.
Oh, we are.
So you might
might
not be here.
You might
not be here.
So where would the new location be?
So we're going to be at the northern end of Cheshire, right on the border of Southington, right off 691. We're going to have 2 tap rooms, upstairs, downstairs, just like we do in Hamden right now. And we're going to have a lot of the process visible to share with our guests. So come check us out.
That's awesome. Definitely follow their social medias to see what's going on.
We would hate our listeners to go to the wrong location.
Exactly.
So just stay up to date. Yeah. But we're excited for you. Love the beer that you're producing. I mean, this Keller beer and the Cool Ship was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, everything
we
was
definitely
amazing.
did. There's not a full glass here.
No.
So. The water's
There's
full.
multiple empty
The
glasses.
water's full. Yeah. We are gonna go have some lunch. You're probably driving to work, or you're probably that 3 o'clock feeling at work, and we're gonna drink more beer, and you're probably
just
jealous.
gonna wish you were.
Yeah. So we're living a pretty cool life right now. So take it
best.
away, Sound Guy Ryan, to the credits that we don't have. Just next week's
Cheers.
episode. Cheers.